Alright, hello out there, welcome to Holy Moonlight Crusaders, and on the wrong screen, we're going to be playing Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. And I've got a special guest with me here on the phone, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey guys, this is Timothy Shelton. I own a little shop in Clarksville called Porch. I'm here to talk about everything under the sun and then some more.
Yes, absolutely. And I have already beat Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I haven't played it in about a year, and it has some interesting mechanics involved in it. To level up your Pokemon outside of battles and stuff, you have to catch Pokemon, which is kind of hard to do if you've got it in the docked mode. So we may just forget this and go see what other things we can do. So Timothy, you were talking about some things that EA had announced, one of them being Skate 4. Was that the only thing that they had announced, or you know any more details on that?
I was like, that's the only thing I announced, and they didn't really announce anything much about it.
Yeah.
At the end of the conference, they were talking about it, and they went to announce, and they were like, and this. And it rolled the creators of Skate, and they were like, guys, it's happening in Skate 4.
That's awesome.
And the entire world flipped out.
Sure.
Because that's all they've asked EA for, and like, we didn't want nothing else from EA. We just wanted Skate 4.
Yeah.
I mean, Skate 3 was such a pivotal. It was. You cannot argue that Skate 3 was the best skateboarding game ever made.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater wasn't that great. It had weird graphics. I mean, yeah, Skate 3 had flaws, but like even nowadays, like I think 10 or 15 years later, I can't even exactly remember when it came out.
Yeah.
It still has people on its multiplayer online.
Well, I can't remember which one of the Tony Hawk games came out, and all that was on the disc was actually the tutorial level, and the rest of it was all downloaded through like a update because they hadn't finished the game. I don't remember which game that was. Obviously, it was a new enough game where it was internet connectivity.
I think it was 4.
Was it?
Yeah. Like I said, I wasn't big into the skater scene. I just remember buying Skate 3 and thought it was the coolest game in the world.
Yeah.
And then me enjoying it so much that I bought 2 copies.
Well, I know this. When there really is a hole in the market of new video games for stuff like that. Back in the late 90s, one of the great games that we loved was called 2 Extreme. That was a PlayStation game that it had a lot of stuff like skateboarding, rollerblading, and really it came along about the time Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 was coming out, and there were several games in that genre. And unfortunately, in our modern day and age, you don't see a lot of things come out that are really great in that genre. It's either just milking old franchises, or everything really wants to go in the direction of first-person shooters like Call of Duty or something like that, and really emphasize the online as opposed to, like you said, a lot of these great games.
Well, like, that's where I think the age of video games is changing. Like, we hit on this last week that basically the PS5 was announced.
Yeah.
Well, now that I've looked at it more, there's actually a digital version and a hard disk version. So there'll be a version that's literally all digital. It won't have a disk drive or anything.
Really?
And it'll basically you just download everything online. And as me and my sister was sitting in the shop Wednesday talking about it, and I just can't bring myself to even think about buying something like that. Like, I don't see, like, it just doesn't seem feasible to me. It's like it's something I wouldn't like. I mean, granted, I live out in the middle of nowhere, so I don't have good internet anyways.
Yeah.
Like, even at home, I don't even have internet at home. I just use my phone for everything. But, like, I don't even play PlayStation or online games at home. I do it at my shop, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, I couldn't imagine just buying an all-digital
Yeah, you know,
PS5.
I can see a lot of younger people doing that. And people...
I think if you live in the city, and, like, let's say you lived in downtown Nashville, you know? Apartment sizes, little, you know, and you don't want to buy, like, this sounds so stupid saying it from my point of view when I have a 6,000 square foot shop.
Yeah.
But you don't want the extra couple inches the physical copies takes up, you know, and the digital sounds better, you know. You don't want to have to go look for a disc every time you want to play a game.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think that really is a tragedy, though, because you brought up something that a lot of people don't realize. A lot of this internet-based stuff is really limited when you live out in the country.
Oh, yeah.
And having physical media when you live out in the country actually makes a really big difference. Now, I'm blessed. Where I'm at right now has good enough internet to... Well, sorry, I'm getting thrown off trying to do Pokemon here.
Well, I see where, like, you ride the fine line of where the good internet is and where the bad internet is.
Yeah, absolutely. Literally, not even a mile away, the good internet goes away. And down like where my parents live, they wouldn't have fast enough internet to download a lot of stuff. Yeah, they don't have enough. I mean, you'd spend days trying to download.
Yeah, like I
just an
downloaded
update
Grand Theft
file.
Auto 5 for the PC the other day.
Yeah.
I literally had to back up my computer because I couldn't even do it at my shop.
Yeah.
And it was 75 gigabytes.
Yeah.
To download this, and it was like, that is crazy to me.
And that's brutal if you live out in the country. That pretty much says you can't play this game.
Like, it physically says you have to go. You almost have to take your PC to like a McDonald's to download this.
Dude, I have known people, and even back when I first got into a couple of systems that did have internet, back when I was still living with my parents, we couldn't download stuff. And I remember when I was pretty much in college, we went over to the Jolton McDonald's and would set up stuff and have to download stuff on a PS3 and PS4 over there.
See, I bought one of those Gamer systems. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
I have not.
But it's actually at the shop somewhere.
Yeah.
I think it's actually in my office. But it's a TV with a built-in hard case.
Yeah.
That way you can put your PS3 and Xbox 360 in there.
Okay.
And take it everywhere. That thing traveled around the country with me.
Yeah.
And, like, I thought that was just so cool that I could take it anywhere. And that's what I used to do. Like, I was on the road with my dad one year, and I had the Xbox 360 then. And then you couldn't go online for free. You still can't with Xbox. But you could download the free games. And, like, some of them were still offline play.
Yeah.
So there was a game called Tetris Evolution. So it was basically Tetris, but it had some fancy colors and stuff. It was very stupid, but it was for free on the Xbox store for like 3 days or something. And I was on the road with Dad. So I took it into a Pilot Flying J, set over in the corner of the driver's lounge, while all the other drivers watching TV. I'm sitting in there using the Pilot internet downloading that game.
Yeah.
And, like, you want to talk about slow internet. It took me almost 2 hours to download that game because it was like 8 gigabytes and it was like a half a gigabyte upload.
Wow.
It was terrible. It was terrible times. It was about a half gigabyte an hour, and because so many people was in and on off of it.
And I just realized my Joy-Con joystick doesn't look like it's working, which is terrible. And it's one that I rebuilt. Well, it doesn't want to go down. He wants to walk really slow, like it's barely being pushed when you go down, which is really aggravating. But anyway, let me just throw a few words out here on Pokemon Go, and then I want to talk about CRTs and some other stuff.
Okay.
So Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, which is what we're playing, is a remake of the original Game Boy Pokemon game. So you think Pokemon Red, Pokemon Green/Blue, depending on which region you're in, or Pokemon Yellow, which of course came out slightly later. But this is where you would start out. This is a verbatim remake of those games.
So like that top-down?
Yeah, top-down, and it's slightly angled, but it's not like the isometric angle, which is obviously angled to the corner a little bit. It's just straight top-down Pokemon. The maps are identical. The artwork is fairly similar, obviously modernized, but as far as the architecture and the style goes, it's very similar. But if anybody's watching this, we're just going to walk through the world and kind of smash some Pokemon. And by that we mean defeat them and put them in a little Pokeball.
I mean, I look back to it and I'll say this about Pokemon. You gotta admit that they were geniuses the way they did the games.
When I first played it, I was really hoping that it wouldn't be like a turn-based RPG. But when I look back at it now, it is so impressive that they were able to fit that game
in a Game Boy
cartridge.
And just like, and even going back, if you go ahead in time, Pokemon Fire Red version and Pokemon Ruby. Pokemon Ruby was the first actual game I bought.
Yeah.
And that and Harvest Moon, but you know.
Yeah.
I bought both of those. And I probably paid forever on Pokemon Ruby.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, it was the coolest thing. And me and one of the guys that's working with me this week, we were talking about it today. Pokemon Ruby, I literally didn't beat it for 5 years.
Yeah.
Not by my own cause, just because I love Safari Zone so much.
Oh, yeah.
That was the coolest thing to me. It was just, I would literally, I had a save right outside of Safari Zone, and I would literally go to Safari Zone and play. And that's all I did when I logged on for like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that just today, and it was just like, oh, that's crazy, you know?
Yeah, the Pokemon games were really impressive. And I never played Ruby Red, but I did play Leaf Green.
Oh, yeah.
Which is of that same era.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you see, and the way Pokemon did that, where they had like the different greens and reds, when then they based it off of that too, it's like, that's cool to us, you know?
Yeah, no, it really is.
To us as a kid.
Yeah, and I feel like the younger generations, which get every generation has their thing, they don't care about the physical media as much as say our generation did, because there was something cool about having Ruby Red, Leaf Green. You know, you've got all of these different collectibles, and there is something just nostalgic and interesting about having that physical cartridge. And now I'm at the point where, like, I bought a lot of Game Boy games, and one of them in there was Pokemon Yellow, and the game would work, but the battery was out, which I already had Pokemon Yellow, and the one I had from when I was a kid, the battery still worked in the cartridge, but on this one I got, I had to replace the cartridge, or the battery, which isn't a big deal if you've got the right screwdriver and you can solder a battery in. But
and I get nostalgic about Pokemon, you know. I started with a Pokemon Crystal cartridge.
Okay.
And a broke down, beat up Pokemon Game Boy that I bought at a yard sale for $10.
Yeah.
This thing looked like it had been carved on. I mean, this thing is awful. I sold it like 10 years later for like $45, but hey, you know,
yeah,
each your own there. And I came with Pokemon Crystal, and I played that game, good lord, till I got my Game Boy Advance about a year and a half.
Wow. Yeah.
And then it was Ruby Red, and we're back at it. It was like, that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, once you got to the Game Boy Advance games, the graphics in the original Game Boy Pokemons wasn't bad.
I mean, they're impressive for, if you take them from today's standards, they're garbage, you know?
But you know what?
If you take them from their standards and the time that they came out,
yeah,
that was top-notch technology. Kind of like Grand Theft Auto. The original top-down version of Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
You go back and look at it now, it's like, this thing is junk.
Yeah.
Like, who bought this? Who played this?
Yeah,
For
well,
that was cool to see on a PS1, you know?
Sure. Which I think the original top-down Pokemons aged much better than did the top-down Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
because you can still play the original Game Boy Pokemon and have a good time with it. Like, it doesn't look near as good as a modern Pokemon game, but you can still have fun with it. Like, it's not a distraction. Like, some games have such bad graphics from that era that it's a little bit, you've kind of got to want to be involved in it to be able to tolerate it.
Well, that's what a lot of the Atari games I found. And like even the Odyssey games.
Here's a wild Pikachu. If you ever wanted to know what Pokemon look like in the wild, they let you see the free-ranging Pokemon in this game.
Oh, that's kind of cool, I guess.
And I'm gonna have to change controllers.
I mean, that's kind of where I was with the whole stuff. It's like, even the Odyssey and the Atari games, you go back now, and Dad and Father played Atari, you know, had an Atari.
Yeah.
And me and him sits there and talks about it now, and I went and bought one. And he's like, this was my childhood. This is what we played, you know?
Yeah.
Here, put football in. I'll just show you how to whoop your butt, you know?
Yeah.
And we put it in. We're sitting there playing, you know? And then me and him was talking. He's like, we didn't know what we had. This was nothing. We thought we had the top of the line stuff, you know? We thought we were rich having this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And then you look at today with your PS4s and your Xbox, whatever millions they're on, as he puts it. And he's like, of course, he's triggered about Xboxes so bad.
Yeah.
He's like, you had the Xbox, then you had the Xbox 360. He's like, basically, the next one should have been Xbox 720.
Yes, he is correct in that. It makes no sense.
And he's like, nah, we just decided. He's like, this is how the board meeting went. He's like, what we need to do is go back to our roots, Xbox One. And it was funny because I had an original Xbox come into the shop yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it has no cables, no nothing. It's literally just a console.
Wow.
So if you know someone to look for one. It was just like, oh, that's kind of random, but it's cool, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like, but that has to do with the CRTs, you know? If you go back and look at the original 1980 CRT televisions, I mean,
Yeah.
for those games that we're talking about, even Pokemon on its GameCube, you know, because you back then was so cool, top notch that like it looks great.
Oh yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you try to put up your PS3 or PS4 nowadays to composite or component.
Yeah.
It's just like, what were we doing back then?
Yeah. No. Well, a lot of those games do look better on a CRT than they do on a modern television.
Oh yeah.
And part of it, I think, has to do with the pixel arrangement.
Oh yeah. So if you try to play a 16-bit video game or 8-bit video game on a modern 4K TV, you know, it's gonna look like garbage.
Yeah.
There ain't no doubt about it. It's gonna look like hot garbage. But if you go back and, like, I have a Spectrum TV. You've seen it. It's in the office. I can actually scale it back to do 240p. And some of the original PlayStation 1 games and PS2 games don't look bad on it. But you'll never compare it to our original. Like, I wanted to get a actual flat screen to hook up into my Laserdisc player.
Yeah.
But after I hooked it up and started playing with it, the quality just did not come out of it.
Yeah.
I said I don't know if it was the difference in how it was built, or it wasn't really the cable either. I mean, it was just that the TV was trying to upscale it so much that it just didn't work out.
No, a lot of that looks really bad upscaled.
And like it was made to be played on like a 19 or a 20-inch TV, you know, because that's what they had. We were talking about this the other day. CRT collecting is such a niche market.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of us that do it. And like there's a holy grail. There's actually a 42-inch CRT made.
Yeah.
And it's a holy grail for CRT collectors because that's the one. If you collect CRTs and play CRTs, you want a 42-inch in your collection eventually.
Yeah.
And I've been lucky over the years to have several of them. They are no made fun to move. You can't move them. I mean, a 42-inch CRT can run you anywhere from 190 up to 350 pounds. You know.
Yeah.
Like you. We can talk about you pulling out that chassis.
In an arcade. An arcade
Yep.
chassis.
Yeah, not a TV chassis, but an arcade chassis. And we're talking, that was the end of the years, you know?
Yeah.
That was 2000.
I was about to say,
Right
yeah, that
after-
was late 90s or somewhere around
Yeah.
2000. I couldn't remember what year that.
2004, actually.
Oh, 2004. That is a lot later than I thought it would be.
2006 is when CRTs died.
Yeah.
The only CRT made after that was actually made in Korea. And to be completely honest, if any of your viewers or people who watch this later,
Yeah.
any of you can get a hands on one of those Korean CRTs, call me at my shop, the Front Porch. I'll pay you $350 a piece for them.
Now, was it a particular brand that made them, or a particular model? I
Okay.
mean, what?
So if you just go and look up Korean CRT 2011, you'll see them pop up.
Yeah.
And like I have tried for the last 10 years to get them imported to the U.S.
Yeah.
It's physically impossible. Like
What-
they all get stopped by customs.
What do they generally look like?
Like it's like a red and white or a blue and white. There's two different versions.
Yeah.
And they kind of look like the old, like, I don't know, like the 80s. It had like steel legs on it. And they're goofy looking TVs, but it's the most modern CRT we can find.
Really?
And
What-
us American collectors cannot get our hands on it. And because every time you try to bring one into America, it gets blocked. At one time in my TV career, I tried to bring in 150 of them. And at that time, I got a nice letter from the Department of Transportation and Homeland Customs basically explaining to me that my shipment of TVs was blocked at the border and being shipped back.
Wow.
Due to guidelines that require that was basically modern TVs.
Yeah.
And we hadn't been able to get them brought over yet. So no one in the United States could actually tell you how good they were or if they were even rated. I mean, they weren't technically even rated for over here.
Wow.
It was the way that they were built over there that they just didn't like them.
Yeah. So I've basically been just walking around so people can see this. I've already fought everything that can be fought in this game. And I fought them using this shiny coughing that is out. And this game works a little different. You can't just fight random Pokemon out in the wild. You have to fight trainers, basically is how it works. You just catch the Pokemons in the wild. I mean, you do fight Pokemon when you're fighting trailers. Obviously, it's not like Ash versus the, you know.
The kid who always that got your Pokemon at the same time, you know?
Yeah,
I love
not,
that guy.
it, yeah. He's a total jerk in this game. Which I guess he's always a total jerk, but
As I say, every game is a total jerk.
it's not like Ash beating up this older gentleman over here, or this construction worker. It's Ash's Pokemon versus theirs. So there is Pokemon battles, obviously. But this is basically what it looks like. I may swap over. I was wanting to have you on for about an hour, Timothy. I don't know if you've got another 30 minutes. Because I had some other television related questions from you,
Go for it.
from a viewer. But I want us to swap over to Breath of the Wild because that'll be a little bit more interesting to play. I just wanted to put this in there so some people who liked Pokemon could see what this game looks like and how it really is. It's like a square by square remake, and totally from the ground up remade version of Pokemon, the original Pokemon games.
Yeah, I can't wait to go back and actually watch the stream and actually see what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, the great shame of it, and I'm going to pull up the map, is that you can't just go out in the field and fight Pokemon. You can go out there and collect them, and they do look cool in it. It's really cool to see the Pokemon out in the wild. It really is like you're in a real Pokemon Safari Zone. And don't get me started on the Safari Zone in this game. The Safari Zone in this game is terrible. It requires you to have Pokemon Go on your phone.
Oh God.
So yeah, it brings the Pokemon from the one you collect on your phone, and it's a big headache. And which I'm fine with. You want to have platform stuff or cross-platform stuff. I really like cross-platform stuff, but the original Pokemon Safari Zone was pretty cool.
It didn't need to be fixed.
Yeah, that did not need to be fixed. If you wanted to hook it up with Pokemon Go some way, that's fine. But the Safari Zone...
Make it so you could, like, take it with you as Pokemon Go or something, you know?
Yeah, make it something like that, but not take out the Safari Zone. This guy looks like he needs to be beat up. It's creepy. Hey, Timothy, were you the one? Somebody yesterday was talking to me about the Pokemon conspiracy around the Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town. Was that you?
No, it was the other guy.
I couldn't remember if it was you, which I was talking to your sister about that time too, and I didn't think it was Glenna.
No, it's the other guy. He's such a conspiracy theorist when it comes to Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny to me, you know, but...
Well, we're going to end this real quick, and then we're going to... So if you'll just stay on the line with me, we're going to start a new live stream with Breath of the Wild. But anyone out there, thank you for joining us. Here's a look at the Pokemon remake. It's pretty cool. God love you and have a blessed day.